Mokhtar, there was a time that privileged access management, or PAM, as we know it, was the way to go. Where is privileged access management falling short today?
3 days ago, I was in a workshop with the top 10 retail companies in Europe, and we did a session actually on privileged access management. And most of those folks were talking about companies making billions of dollars in revenue annually, were saying that those softwares are terrible, that it took them 5 years to deploy those softwares. And so
why was it taking 5 years to deploy the software? What was the trouble?
The product just don't work. They're broken. And we are talking about incumbents that are 20, 30 years old, companies that, got acquired by private equity that then got acquired again by private equity. And so they're just not product first anymore.
There was a slew of privileged access management products out there that they were doing their job at the time, but many of them got acquired. And during that acquisition process, they didn't keep up with the times, and now the product was subpar.
I think it's a common trend in almost every category in software is just this cycle of softwares getting old and not keeping up. And so now we are moving into the AI age, right? And in the context of AI, PAM, traditional PAM are not just limited. I believe they're actually useless. They're not sufficiently granular. They tend to be very binary. You want to give access to the AI agent to a database, but it's not you want to give it access only to the database. You want to give it access to a database, to a specific row in the database that's linked to a specific customer so that your customer support AI agent can make the specific action it wants.
As I understand, and when privileged access management was presented to me, it's, I can have access to this network or this application during this time. But you're saying, no, we need to now understand the database itself that it's accessing and the information that's transferring there and manage privileged access within the database of knowledge itself.
Privileged access management and those traditional software were working 20, 30 years ago because the database, the models, the groups even of users were very well defined. The thing is, the world changed, right? If you look at even folks of my generation, they stay for a job for 2 years and then they move on another one, right? So even just from a human and group management, it's very hard to keep it up. With access controls in general. And it's not just about the data, it's also about the actions, the AI systems you want to let them.
So explain to me how Formal is essentially providing that granularity layer on top of PAM, because correct me if I'm wrong, you are compatible with PAM solutions, not fully eliminating them, right?
I think it's fair to say that the core of our product is basically a proxy, a reverse proxy, right? That sits in front of our customers' infrastructure. And when we say infrastructure, it's very broad, right? It's databases like Postgres or MySQL, so transactional databases, but also analytical data stores like Databricks or Snowflake. By sitting in front of that infrastructure, our proxy has the ability not only to be able to understand the flow of data, but also to control it in a very granular way. And so, for example, you can dynamically redact sensitive data. You can decrease, limit the number of rows seen by a specific user to make sure that they have only access to what they need at the time that they need. And so we bring PAM, I want to say, almost to the next level, where basically we give access at almost the packet level, effectively. And in terms of actions, in the more AI side of things, I think there's two things that are interesting to share. It's access in the context of SSH or Kubernetes sessions, and also access in the context of AI agents taking actions. So our proxy actually embeds a very small LLM that has the ability to understand the stream of actions being taken by an identity, whether it's a human or machine identity, so that our proxy can dynamically assess the risk score of a session and potentially block or suspend an action being done by a user, right? So imagine a software engineer who logs into a VM via an SSH connection. Our proxy has the ability to understand the commands being run, so that if they are too risky, our proxy can automatically block those commands. In the same way, we can also understand the actions of an AI agent. And if the AI agent starts, let's say, for example, like you have cursor, and the agent starts like merging pull requests on its own without the approval necessarily of the end user, our proxy had the ability to understand that and prompt actually the end user by sending him a Slack message saying, hey, did you really wanted to let your agent merge this peer on your behalf, right? And so it's almost about bringing back the human in the loops to make sure that AI or even humans, right, don't take actions that could negatively impact the security of the overall organization.
A very good intention indeed. Well, if you, our audience, want to essentially level up your PAM solution, your identity access to be more granular so you understand what's going on and have the AI agents working for you and so you can work essentially alongside them, you got to go check out what they're doing over there at Formal. And their web address is right there. It's joinformal.com. Go check them out.